Hey guys, it's Lando from the Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm here to talk to you through some waiver wires for week number 4. This week, it's way different than week 1. It's all about the wide receiver position. We didn't have the apocalypse happen. Most of your starters did not go down. The biggest running back injury would be Chris Carson with a knee sprain. He should be out 1 to 2 weeks, so we will talk about possible options at that position. But this was all about the wide receivers, especially the rookie wide receivers. So if you follow this show, you might already have Justin Jefferson and Tee Higgins and Brandon Aiyuk on your teams if you have a deep bench. But for the rest of you that comes through, I'm going to talk about how much kind of FAAB they're worth, what priority they're worth, and if you should even start them on your team or just kind of stash them. So we'll start with Justin Jefferson. He had a massive game. He had 9 targets, 7 receptions for 175 yards and 1 touchdown. That is a big game. They played against Tennessee. The Vikings defense is so bad that they're going to be playing from behind a lot, and Justin Jefferson has now entrenched himself as the number 2 option in that offense. Adam Thielen still ran more routes than Justin Jefferson, but being the number 2 for the Vikings, especially from a negative game script for them, will be fantasy relevant. So the next few weeks, they have really great matchups. They play Houston, Seattle, Atlanta, and then their bye week. So that's awesome for the Vikings. I don't expect them to be any positive game scripts. They'll be from behind, trying to win, and Justin Jefferson should be the recipient of a lot of those targets from Kirk Cousins. So if you don't need a wide receiver on your team, but if you have extra bench spots, I would definitely put Justin Jefferson at the top of my priority. And potentially, FAAB-wise, I don't think you have to spend a ton on him. 4 to 10% FAAB would be enough to get Justin Jefferson on your team. Now, if you're in a keeper league, when you can keep waiver wire pickups for like a last round pick or a late round pick, maybe you want to get him. Maybe you want to get this guy on your team. We love the talent coming out of college, and Justin Jefferson looks like a stud in the making in the NFL. So, obviously keeper positions have an impact. Maybe you want to put more on him. Next, for the wide receiver position, we have Tee Higgins, who saw 2 touchdowns, but only 5 receptions, had 9 targets. He's a big boy, 6'4", 210 pounds. This guy looks like almost a tight end, but he's fast and he's elite. So I'm a big fan of Tee Higgins. Next week they have Baltimore. So based how much Joe Burrow passes the football, Tee Higgins could very well be viable for that team, and he could be a fringe play against Jacksonville. But after that, they have Baltimore and Indy and Cleveland. Not the greatest matchups. I wouldn't want to be starting Tee Higgins every single week, but it does look like AJ Green doesn't look great in that offense, and Tee Higgins seems to be a guy that has a good relationship with Joe Burrow. This could be a long-term connection with Higgins and Burrow in Cincinnati. So again, you don't have to blow the bank on Tee Higgins. He's also another keeper option. You could put that under 10%, should get him. Stipulations, he could be the second wide receiver on your priority if you need him and if you have room. So the other one that's pretty close is going to be Brandon Aiyuk. I'm a fan of Brandon Aiyuk. I've had him in a lot of spots. I liked him in second round of rookie drafts. He had 8 targets, 5 receptions, 70 yards. He had some rushing work as well. I think he's a really good athlete. The San Francisco 49ers really liked him. This is not a passing offense, so that's why he's not higher up on the list here for me. They play Philadelphia, Miami, Rams, New England. It's mediocre. I think he could be better with Jimmy Garoppolo back. Just that team is just so mangled right now. Maybe Raheem Mostert's back, but now with Jerick McKinnon's banged up, you want to be a running back in that offense. You don't necessarily want to be a wide receiver. And Deebo Samuel should be back in a little bit of time. So Brandon Aiyuk is lower on the priority. But again, keeper positions, it changes everything if you can keep these players long term. Next, for the wide receiver position, I would say Adam Lazard and Anthony Miller have to be in the conversation because they had fairly big weeks. Now, the only issue right now with Adam Lazard is obviously Devontae Adams will be coming back. So Lazard isn't going to be super high on my priority, but if he's out there, he's worth an add. Potentially, if Devontae Adams is out for any more sustained time, you can absolute start him locked and loaded against Atlanta. What I do like about it is that he stepped up when Adams was gone. He looked like that in trench number 2. He was targeted all over the field. He had 146 yards and a touchdown. He's not the fastest guy in the league, but Aaron Rodgers likes him, and if Aaron Rodgers likes him, he can be fantasy relevant. No question. He should be rostered from now on. They have Atlanta next week, then a bye, and then they have a decent schedule going forward. I'm not worried about the Green Bay schedule just because Aaron Rodgers is going to do Aaron Rodgers things no matter what. Green Bay defense seems to be letting up quite a few points. They're not super strong, but they're not super weak. It's going to be always competitive games for the Green Bay offense, and that will obviously make Allen Lazard relevant. Anthony Miller looks better with Nick Foles at the quarterback position. Trubisky will not start another game unless a injury to the starting quarterback happens. So I think that's great for all the receivers in Chicago, including obviously Allen Robinson is a part of that. I don't think I would pick up Nick Foles per se. They have Indianapolis, Tampa Bay, and then Carolina. Carolina, he's potentially a DraftKings play. There's better quarterbacks to stream, and that's available on your waiver wire. So let me just check on some ownership percentages to see what's kind of available for the wide receiver position and whether they are worth it to add. Obviously, check to see if some of these guys like McCole Hardman for tonight's game, Curtis Samuel looks like he could be involved more in the rushing attack for Carolina, but Mike Davis looked great. Alshon Jeffrey maybe should be rostered. He should be coming back soon, and it really looks like Carson Wentz needs him, especially based on that they lost Dallas Goedert as well. So maybe as a sneaky add, you should maybe look at adding Alshon Jeffrey. Next, we will go to the running back position. Running backs are difficult this week because there weren't significant injuries. The main one is going to be Chris Carson. So Carlos Hyde has been added, one of the most out of anyone, and for okay reason. But I would also consider adding Travis Homer in that option or in that offense. Neither are going to be super great. Neither are going to blow anyone's socks off, and it might just be a little bit of a mess. It's just going to be more targets for the pass catchers in that offense. David Moore didn't have a great game. He should be dropped on your waiver wire if you had him. But everyone's talking about Rex Burkhead in that offense. He had a big game. As long as James White is out, Rex Burkhead should be rostered. But again, New England's going to do New England things. Sony Michel got a lot of work. If potentially White is back, I don't think Rex Burkhead is really startable. Rex Burkhead is doing what we expected James White to do, but obviously the tragedy happened for him, and Rex Burkhead looks pretty great in that offense. So you can add Rex Burkhead with a grain of salt if you like as a tentative add, and where the future for James White at this moment is still unclear. Brian Hill looks like a pretty good option as the backup to Todd Gurley. So if you're looking to just add handcuffs, I think Brian Hill was a pretty good option. He got quite a bit of work mixed in. He dropped a really important pass, but I still think if you're concerned about Todd Gurley and his health for the season, Brian Hill is a guy you could pretty much get for free. None of these running backs I'm spending a ton of draft capital on, or FAAB capital or priority. If Myles Gaskin is available still, you should add Myles Gaskin. He would be top of my priority. He would be probably number two or three on the full spectrum based on who you need. If you don't need anyone, if you're strong at wide receiver and running back, you can I would go with some of these high upside running backs, and then these high upside wide receiver, and then Myles Gaskin should definitely be rostered. He will be rostered everywhere after this week if he's not already in your leagues. I will jump over to the quarterback position because quarterback streaming is a real thing. You could definitely stream Baker Mayfield against Dallas next week. Daniel Jones is a guy who I had confidence in, but he disappointed. I would not roster Daniel Jones. You could potentially stream Minshew if he's potentially dropped. Now they play Cincinnati, and Burrow on the other side of the ball. They play Jacksonville. I think both of those quarterbacks could definitely be streamed. Justin Herbert is probably going to be dropped in your leagues, but they play Tampa Bay next week, so I would not stream Justin Herbert. The tight end position, if you owned a tight end and you played him, they probably did not have a good week this past week. Mo Alley-Cox got a touchdown. If you want to start him, you can. He did not have a great box score. Only had 3 targets, 3 receptions, but he had 50 yards and a touchdown. This big man, Mo Alley-Cox, could be rostered. Jimmy Graham, I guess, is the number one option at tight end. He should be better with Nick Foles, but for me personally, I do not want to roster Jimmy Graham. I'm fine missing out on Jimmy Graham, but if you desperately need a tight end, you can add him. But there weren't really many injuries. I think you stick with your guys that disappointed this past week and just move on. Just move on to the next week. If you're in a tight end premium or start 2 tight ends, I'm sure Jimmy Graham is probably already rostered. So that's pretty much it, guys. It's kind of an uneventful waiver wire week. Add your stud rookie wide receivers that are performing well, and good luck on the waiver wires. If you have other positions, maybe those guys that are available in higher percent or lower percent of leagues that are still available, drop in the comments below. We can respond and we can give you some tips on how much FAAB to spend on guys. And don't forget, watch who is being dropped on your waiver wire, because people drop really good players for boom players that went off every week. So if you don't need anyone and you don't have high priority, maybe don't pick anyone up, and then you get a high priority and you could add a really good player that was dropped. So thanks a lot, guys. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and we will see you next week. Bye now.